What's going on, guys? King Trats here, back with another video on the channel. Today we made ourselves just a nice roasted turkey and gravy sandwich. I was gonna go to Wawa because I stopped over to get some dog food. There's a store nearby near the Wawa. Last minute I was like, man, my mom was like, yo, we got food at home. So we got food at home, but I made me a nice roasted turkey sandwich and get something similar at Wawa anyway. So we gonna have that with some Quest protein chips because I found them and people say they're good, but I don't know. Anytime you put protein in front of something, I just think it's like booty. But I also got my Diet Dr. Pepper, as well as I found this, where I found this. Dollar General. You know, Poverty King. Y'all know how I get down. The Golden Grams s'mores. If you never had that, just stay tuned, because that is going to be, oh, a good one. Let me take you through the process of the sandwich real quick. It's super simple. We got a everything roll, I guess you would call it. Everything, like a French roll. There you go. Everything French roll. We got this at Walmart. Only cost me $1. Y'all know I love that kind of stuff. There was some turkey tenderloin on sale. Cost like $5 for like a 30-ounce giant turkey tenderloin. So I roasted that off, used the air fryer, just a little salt and pepper, nothing too crazy. And then once we got done with that, we got our bread ready, put it in the oven. So we cut it up and we threw it in there, a little bit of butter and then spray butter. You know I don't use regular butter. And then we got our tenderloin, we cut that up, put that on top, added some fat-free cheese slices, which melt like ass, but I like to keep my calories down. So we got that in there, put that back in for another 5, let the cheese look like it supposedly wanted to melt, but that's what it always comes out as. And then, of course, I got a can of gravy. Yeah, you know the can? Fat-free gravy. Yeah, man. I don't know. I always keep one on hand just in case. If you doctor it up, it's really not that much of a difference between regular gravy. Okay, that's cap. It's still passable as gravy, and it's actually pretty good. So I put that on there, and then we just closed it up, and that is what we have before you today. Give me a little cross section. I'm gonna cut this bad boy right in front of y'all. I don't even know what it looks like yet. Come on. Red knife. Broke half my table. This is why I don't cut things on camera, because that is what happens, but that is okay. Here we go. Look, would y'all eat this? What are we saying? I'm ready for this one. I'm ready for this one. Come here. Oh, damn, that's good. Yo, that's $1 loaf? That is a hitter. The turkey, though. Look how tender this is. Let me show y'all. Look at this. That is just like fall apart tender, bro. Wow. Yo, find these ingredients. Do that. Wow. Oh, this is dope. And I got extra gravy because I'm fat. So a little dunk action. That bite. Oh my god. I don't really like no Poverty King, bro. This thing's a hitter. That turkey's good as hell. Yes, remember when I said I didn't like turkey? That was the Lord's way of saying, shut up. I said, no matter what, turkey is ass. I said it like 3 videos ago, but it was on sale. No way I wasn't buying 30 ounces of meat for $4. For like 52. I'm like, nah, we gonna do this. So, this is, hold on, I'm gonna try like a bite just by itself. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna have to hold my L. Go ahead and give me an L in the comments. It's okay. I'll take it like a man. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong. That's really like divine intervention right there. That's, man. But, in my defense, I did say that turkey on a sandwich still smacks. Like, I still don't like it when you make like the big thing. This right here is different. I'll take my L. Leave me alone. Oh well. We going right. Hey, turn that toilet off so y'all can see it. Get my napkin. I'm gonna try these Quest chips. Hopefully they're good. They're like $2.75 for this thing. 140 calories for a bag, but the macros are insane. 19 grams of protein, only 4 grams of fat, 5 grams of carbs. That's really good for a chip. Ain't no seasoning on it. Ain't no way a protein chip is good. Come here. And these are supposedly like ranch, Cool Ranch, funny chips. Please. I'll be fair. Texturally, these chips suck. They don't hit like tortilla chips. They don't hit like, of course, like a corn or a potato chip. But the seasoning, the ranch flavor is there. Kind of has the texture of a freaking Cheez-It. I have a bag of Cheetos over here. I didn't intend to eat these, but I got them for another day. 28 gram serving. Hold on. 32 gram. Honestly, the macros are very... If you don't need the protein, bro, just find you some baked lemon. Because the macros aren't the same, but the calories are. I would just go with those. But I open a bag. I'm gonna eat them. Go on Dr. Pepper. And I'm gonna talk to y'all for a second. Yesterday, I reviewed The Batman, the new Batman movie called The Batman. I said to somebody else and they were like, didn't Batman already come out? No, The Batman is the name of the actual movie. And if you read the comic books and even allude to the actual movies, they do refer to Batman a lot as The Batman because he gave himself a name, but even before that, people just said like The Batman. Get it? Like 3 words. So kind of just became Batman. Anyway, I said it was the second best Batman film. Motion picture. Okay? Not including the cartoons. A lot of you agree with me. Some of you did not. Some of you didn't agree with the other rankings that I had, but I didn't go through them all. So today, I'm going to rank all 8 Batman motion pictures from 1989 forward. I'm familiar with all of them. I've watched even the original 89 a lot. Even though I grew up in the 90s, 89, get it? Like, it still was like kind of popping. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to rank them. I'm also going to throw in a 10th, one cartoon picture because it's the only one I've seen multiple times. I've seen the other ones, but I haven't seen it enough to give a ranking. I feel like you have to watch things multiple times, but even then you have a pretty good idea. But I only am really familiar with one of them. I'm going to green screen because I'm eating. One day we'll do a green screen. People ask for the ranking, so here we go. I'm going to start with the bottom. At number 9, we have Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin was horrible. The story was mid. Arnold Schwarzenegger just didn't fit as a Mr. Freeze. And I don't really, as an adult, like the campiness of the Joel Schumacher films, which is that one and Batman Forever. I didn't like the addition of Batman, or Batgirl, or Robin. I don't really think Robin in the movies is a good thing. I like him in the comic books, but in the movies, the backstory, didn't really like it. I feel like they were just trying to sell toys in that movie, and they've openly admitted to that now, if you watch all of the old behind the scenes. I do think Clooney was a decent Batman, but he couldn't really do much with that material. I hated the fact that they had Bane, who didn't even talk. He only said like multiple like one-word phrases and grunted, and it was just poorly done. Uma Thurman's awesome. She was a pretty good Poison Ivy, but just the whole ambiance of the movie just didn't fit. I'm not going to get too far into it, because I don't really like it. So I'm moving right forward to number 8, which is Batman Forever. Batman Forever was actually my favorite Batman as a kid. At that point, it's the one that I remember the earliest. I was super young, but I loved Jim Carrey. He was like super popular in the 90s. And I loved his Riddler. I think the movie's fun. These are my pros. I'm done with the pros. I actually also like the Alfred character. He's in the original 4, same actor. Val Kilmer was an okay Batman. And for whatever weird reason, I don't like the romantic interest they kind of write into the movies. But I did like Nicole Kidman's character because she, even though had a damsel in distress thing towards the end, she still was not like a Mary Sue type of character. She was very like an intelligent, you know, like she was opinionated. I don't like when they have women in movie roles where they're just like, they act like women aren't like doctors and you know what I mean? I feel like because of that, I will give her a plus on the roll. But other than that, same problems as the Batman and Robin. Very campy. They made Gotham look like this neon light, everything. Even like the criminals in the like, you know, underworld were all like neon lighty. And as a kid, I thought it was cool. I went back and watched all these as an adult, and I was like, wow, this is a really lame movie. Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face was decent, but again, they made him so campy, and I know he had to ham it up. They asked him to ham it up. Allegedly, him and Jim Carrey actually really didn't like each other. Well, Tommy Lee Jones kind of hated Jim Carrey. You can go look that up too. He couldn't stand him. But I thought the villains were decent. I thought the Riddler character was cool as a kid. He was very funny. Jim Carrey still is. And I did like the fact that in that movie they made Batman vulnerable. You know, they destroyed the Batcave, etc. But other than that, let's move right on. Moving away from the original, or the Schumacher films, we're going to go to what a lot of people liked. As a kid, I didn't like. And as an adult, I kind of like. Batman Returns. This is a tough list, because from here on out, I actually enjoy the movies. Batman Returns, Michael Keaton, underrated Batman in my opinion. I thought he was very good. And the movie was very dark, very Tim Burton, very fun, weird scenes in you know, the scenery. They used that kind of Art Deco noir, but it's very like just there's very any sunlight in the movie whatsoever. I thought Danny DeVito was a very scary penguin. As a kid, he scared the shit out of me. As an adult, I just think he's weird, but still good. Michelle Pfeiffer is like, I love Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean Scarface. I'm sorry, but. And the story itself is pretty good. The Penguin backstory of him trying to like find out who he is, but he was still a criminal. You know, he's from the sewers, and he kind of tried to rise up through the ranks, but of course he gets outsmarted by Batman. Christopher Walken was Christopher Walken, like he is in every movie. Good job in his role as well, with the weird hair. And of course, my man Alfred. There's not really much else I can say about the movie that gives me like, this is a great movie. The plot was decent. But again, I just couldn't, these other movies are just too much better than it, to be honest. Moving right along. Now we're on 6, right? No. Yes. I don't know. Batman and Robin's 9. Batman, I have it written. Batman Forever, 8. Batman Returns. Now Batman Begins. Batman Begins was very much a background. It seemed very prequel-esque in how it was written. And when I'm watching a Batman movie, to be perfectly honest, I don't care how he begins. Just give me Batman. Again, from a Batman movie perspective, I don't need to know him going and you know, I don't need to know his story about, you know, obviously Bruce Wayne, it's very common his parents were murdered in some way. Same in these. But he goes off and he kind of learns the way from the League of Shadows, which does set up the trilogy. But that's all it's really good for. You could have started Batman trilogy, this trilogy, at The Dark Knight and wouldn't have missed a beat, in my opinion. But with that being said, as a standalone, the movie is very good. I think Liam Neeson is an awesome villain, as well as Cillian Murphy as the Scarecrow. I think they're both really good. I think Liam Neeson just has that sort of swagger about him that made his Ra's al Ghul very believable, where he never really like got worked up or yelled. He was always very calm and meticulous and calculated in how he acted, and it fit him perfectly. The background, the plot of him wanting to destroy the city was great. It was actually believable, which is what the Nolan films kind of made. A more grounded series of Batman. Everything about it was more believable. How he came to be, how the bat thing, his fear of bats, wanting to instill it. Everything about that was good. I thought Cillian Murphy was good as the Scarecrow. I'm glad they used a different villain. You don't see Scarecrow very often in movies. In fact, that's the only one you've seen. And him being a doctor, using his toxin, it fit into the whole story. Again, the story was believable. And the movie was good. But my only downside, as a standalone movie, it is very good. But my only downside, again, is it wasn't necessary. And at that point, I wanted to see more Batman, and this kind of was more of like a background origin story. You could have put it after The Dark Knight Rises and called it a prequel, and it still would have worked. Doesn't take away from the fact that it's a very good movie, but it's a tough crowd when you start ascending up these, because I love the Batman films. So we're going to move on. I don't want to spend too much time on all these. I want to hold you up. I know people, I don't care. So, we're going. Next is the first one that isn't a motion picture. It is a cartoon, but if you haven't seen it and you're a fan of Batman, you need to watch it because it's very, very good. It came out in the early 90s, and I didn't watch it until I was probably 2000. It's called Mask of the Phantasm. Mask of the Phantasm is set in that same Gotham. Very deco, very noir, and the villain, the Phantasm, starts off, almost looks like a ghost, has a skull mask, and without going too much into it, I don't want to give away any plot points. It's well written, it's well acted, it's believable, it gives you a background, it gives you kind of why Bruce Wayne became Batman more. And if the cartoon was a movie, people would still eat it up. I wanted to give this its proper because people don't know about this movie unless you're like a junkie of films. Batman in particular. And I feel like you need to watch it if you haven't. The voice actors are very good. If you don't know, Mark Hamill, who plays Luke Skywalker, is the voice of the cartoon Joker in numerous Batman films, as well as the animated series. If you're a 90s kid, you know what I'm talking about. And he might be one of the best Jokers that no one talks about. I think he's awesome. Even in the video games, Mark Hamill is the Joker's voice, and he's so good. I would have loved to see him play the Joker in a motion picture. That's how good he probably would have been. But we're going to move on because I don't want to take too long again. Now we're moving in to what I consider all great movies. Next up, at number 4, we have Batman, 1989. If you were born before the year 2000, you've probably never seen it unless you're a film person or a Batman person. It is an awesome movie. It is the first of its kind. I think it changed the face of comic book movies, because before that it was all camp, Adam Westy, Superman with Christopher Reeve, and you didn't really see like movies that had a dark tone where Batman even bled or had like issues. This movie does bring that into the picture. I think Tim Burton's tone fit in that movie in particular. At least there's some parts in the daytime. And, of course, as a lot of people will say, Jack Nicholson, very underrated Joker. He's very good. I think he's truer to the comic book Joker than even Heath Ledger, who I love, obviously. But this one was more of a clown. Hand buzzers. The gun with the thing that comes out and says bang. A squirting flower with acid in it. All parts of the movie. And more. His laugh was very good. He had a rictus grin, so not the Glasgow smile that everyone's familiar with, but like he's stuck in a grinning motion because of an accident. They give you the background. Even though it's an origin story, it doesn't give you too much of the beforehand, because Batman, as Batman, makes an appearance, even though he's like a newer Batman, meaning he hasn't been doing it for a while. Batman makes an appearance in the movie within the first like 5 minutes. So you can just kind of, away we go. It gives you flashbacks to kind of tell you why he is the way he is, but it doesn't take too long. Which is why I put it ahead of Batman Begins. Again, Michael Keaton, very underrated Batman. The story is very good. I think the Joker is the perfect villain for Batman, which is why people kind of put him up there, because he's kind of the antithesis of Batman. He's the opposite of Batman. And those two characters on the screen just always work, which is why you see so many Jokers. But the movie is very good. Downsides to that movie, the Vicky Vale character, I like Kim Basinger, but not necessarily. They always want to add a love interest to these movies, and I don't think it was necessary. And also, he lets her in the Batcave, which gives me an immediate, like, knocks off, like, 4 points. Like, why would you do that? Alfred, I wanted to throw something at him. It's the only time Alfred annoyed me. So, we don't do that here. But other than that, I think the movie is really good. Just not as good as the other ones that I'm about to name. We're moving on. At number 3, we're getting into what I consider the S-tier movies. All of these movies for me are excellent. I know some people don't think so with this next one. It's a controversial one in the Batman community. I've seen people put it as high as 1 and as low as they hated it. And of course, that goes to The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight Rises, for me, was the first 2 acts of that movie were absolutely... Quick interlude. Just get these. I don't have to go into it. I know they're good, they're delicious, no one cares. Okay. Here we go. Never had this. It's a Rice Krispie treat with s'mores with a chocolate bottom. Like, come on now. I don't need to be all extra about it, but it's so good. Everything about it. Freaking Golden Grams on here, but come on now. Anyway. The first 2 acts of The Dark Knight Rises are as good as any. I don't care what anybody says. The first act leading up to Bane breaking Batman's back. That whole first act, the setup, the who is this Bane guy, why is he doing this? You know, it was awesome. Loved it. The best in, up there with these other 2. Second act of Bane exacting his plan that he had it all laid out in the beginning. You know, blowing up the stadium, half of the town, lock everybody in. Here's why we're doing this, freeing all the prisoners. Like, everything about that was so good. And watching that movie for the first time, even though I did see it in theaters twice, I remember watching it the first time being like, wow, this Bane guy is for real. Like, he is a straight up menace. Like, this guy is nothing to be messed with. Batman had the fist fight with him, you know, caught the fade, broke his cowl, you know, broke his back. And then left him alive to torture him. W. All of that. Third act, Batman coming back, they just dropped the ball on it. And I'm going to tell you why, because I got to get into these. Number 1, Batman just one day being able to walk about having a broken back. Alright, fine. Even though in the entire first half of the movie they said his cartilage in his knees, numerous everything, he basically couldn't even fight anymore. He had been retired so long. So how did he all of a sudden, what, from doing some push-ups after having a broken back? I was just like, come on now. They could have written it to make it more believable. I'm not one of those people that says, oh, like, but in that case, I feel like it could have been written better. Him finally getting out of the pit and getting back to Gotham. How the hell did he get back in? I understand he's Batman. I get it. He's Bruce Wayne, one of the richest people in the world. But how'd he get in? Nobody noticed this guy was walking around? Even with that, okay, you can buy it. He's Bruce Wayne, he's Batman. And those other guys did sneak in and get caught, but snuck in. So, I just, again, not that it was horrible on a grand scale of movies, but on a Batman scale, tough crowd, again, just didn't really like it. And then the final act of him fighting Bane, excuse me, I had a rice caught on my throat, Golden Gram. Again, the guy just kicked the shit out of him. Like, now he walks back in town, he's like, I'm here to beat you. And then Bane's like, oh, you came back for your city. And he just beats the hell out of him because he punches him in the face and his mask breaks. You didn't think of that the first time? And yes, I know the guy in the prison told him the mask keeps the pain at bay, but Batman's one of the smartest detectives who's ever lived in the Batman world. You didn't think it hit him in the face the first time? Like, not even once? Like, accidental? Like, he couldn't even... In fact, he did punch him in the face a bunch. But he bests Bane, and then Bane's sitting there, and then you find out that, you know, she's Talia al Ghul, and he's just sitting there crying, and she says, you know, leave him alive, and Catwoman... It just, again, it's good, but on the final acts of the other 2 movies just blow this one out of the water. So on that scale, very tough scale, I have to put it at number 3. Number 2, The Batman, I have gone over this. If you didn't see it, it's the video before this. I don't want to give any spoilers. Very well written. Cinematography, the score, the actors. I loved everything about that movie. Runtime was a little long is the only con that I have. Again, I don't want to give any spoilers, but everything about it was great. The villains, the setup, and it didn't go too far into the background. It wasn't a Batman Begins. He was already Batman. He was in early stages of Batman, which I think is better for movie's sake. And away we go. I don't want to give it away. Again, you can watch the other one if you want to know more about that movie, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. And last, but first on the list, you guessed it, is The Dark Knight, which is one of my favorite films ever. I fell in love with Heath Ledger's Joker when it came out. It was so well written. It gave Batman this sense of humanity, meaning like vulnerability that wasn't shown in the Batman trilogy or quadruply, the 4 movies before this. I thought Bale was excellent. Heath Ledger just stole the show. Obviously, he won an Oscar for it. May he rest in peace. But I just thought he was so good. The story was great. The actual terror that the Joker gave over the town the entire time was believable, even though it was insane. You still believe that this could happen in a movie's sense. And he just wanted Batman. He thought he was fun. Like, he says it in the movie, and he wanted to just show that madness was possible for everybody. And he knew that he couldn't corrupt Batman, so he chose Harvey Dent, and he succeeded. And obviously it set up The Dark Knight Rises. Again, the score, Joker's theme, Batman's theme, the underworld, the Maroni aspect, the Harvey Dent aspect. Obviously, Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon was phenomenal. Commissioner Gordon, and Joker's plan being, even though it wasn't a plan, but a plan, the things that he did in the movies, from blowing up buildings to kidnappings and just the command that he had. I remember watching this movie. I watched it 3 times in the theaters. And every time people watched it, anytime the Joker started having his little speeches, people just shut up. It's hard to do that in a movie theater. And he just commanded it. And I thought Bale just played his role perfect with that. And those two were just magic. And obviously the story all the way up to the climax. I wish that Heath Ledger could have continued that, because I think he would have been in The Dark Knight Rises, because he wasn't done in the movie, expired. Obviously, we all know what happened, and it kind of sucks. But, even with that, I know that people love the Marvel films, and I do, but the thing that, to me, the DC films, the good ones, not that universe, because most of those suck. I didn't even include any of those. An honorable mention, obviously, I didn't want to include Joaquin Phoenix, because it's not a Batman movie. Even though I know, it's a Joker movie. I know it's a Batman background, but that's not like a Batman movie in my opinion. Even though the movie is excellent, and it would probably be nowhere towards the top if it was. But as far as a comic book movie, and just a movie in general, but a comic book movie, I don't think that, and maybe it will, but to me, The Dark Knight is a perfect comic book movie. Everything about it, grounded, but comic book. A little bit of theatrics, but everything was real. The stunts were real. You could feel that. And I love the Marvel movies, but Marvel movies have a little bit more of a fantasy aspect to it than the Nolan series, and even these Batmans, in my opinion. And obviously people, Avengers Endgame and all of that, Infinity War. I can go on. If you want to see a DC or an MCU list, let me know, because I can rank a lot of those too. And I can go into why I think Thanos is actually one of the best comic book villains ever. I can go into that, even though he kind of ruined it. But it's still, even that Infinity War, chef's kiss. But I'm going to go back into that anyway. Dark Knight, as I said, is number 1. So you have my list. Again, let me go over it real quick again. I have it written over here again. Dark Knight, The Batman, Dark Knight Rises, Batman 89, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, Batman Begins, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. Also, just stupid trivia, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises are the only Batman movies ever made that don't have the term Batman in it. Not that that means anything, but the rest of them have Batman in it. So I said Batman 40 times. I should have put a Batman counter on the screen. But that is my rankings. That was my food. People wanted to see that. I love movies. I love my horror movies. I love my comic book movies. I'm a very big movie guy. So if you have any rankings and stuff that you want me to do, or even a review of any movie, If I haven't seen it, I'll watch it. You know I love movie stuff, so I love movies as much as I love food. So let me know. I'll get a green screen even. I've been looking into it. So if you want to see some stuff like that, and tier list, even food tier list, let me know. We'll do that too. But that is going to be the end of the video, man. I love that Batman stuff. I feel like watching it again. But that is it. We'll be back though. More than likely tomorrow. Funny enough, I have to go to fucking Medieval Times tomorrow. I got a kid, not my kid, but kid's birthday, and I gotta go. Yeah, so I gotta do that. But I'll probably stop and get something to eat after. So I'll more than likely have some content unless something unforeseen happens, like kid wants to go play catch or some stuff like that. It's not my kid. I promise you. I don't have any kids. But even if it was, the kid would be here yelling at me, telling daddy to get off the camera. But anyway, that's me end the video, man. We'll be back. I love your faces. More content. That hand signs, they made it to YouTube.